Hey, Walt here from Stogie Review as well as WaltonPA.com with another video cigar review. And this time around I'm doing a cigar that I probably should have reviewed a week or two ago at least. I got an email from Auguesto Reyes a few weeks ago asking me if I was interested in reviewing a new line that they had came out. And this was right after Mike finished up reviewing the series on Auguesto Reyes product from the Cigars International catalog. And before that, we had reviewed some stuff that I got from IPCPR in New Orleans last year. Auguesto Reyes, it was the first time I met them at the trade show, and they were situated in a booth really close to Pinar del Rio and La Palina. And we were doing a lot of back and forth around that area. So we stopped and talked to them on several occasions, and we came home with some cigars that I reviewed. And so we've got a little bit of a history going on with Auguesto Reyes. I think we have maybe 6 of their product reviewed. You know, the bulk of those cigars being Cigars International products. But the new line that they have coming out, I think they're going to introduce it at the trade show this year, is the Urban. Again, from Auguesto Reyes. And I don't know the MSRP or anything like that. This is a Robusto. It has a Nicaraguan wrapper, a Dominican binder, and the filler is listed as 3 Nicaraguan Ligero and 1 Dominican Seco. So that's the nitty-gritty. That's what I know about the cigar. So let's kind of dive in and get started and talk about it a bit. Personally, I hate the band, and I don't know why. I really do hate the band. It is I don't even know how to explain it. I mean, here is the stock art that they sent me, which includes the information about the cigar. But here is the image that this cigar has, and here is the image that their other cigars have. You know, really classy kind of a look. So you've got like classy, traditional versus like new and hip. And honestly, I really prefer the old and classy. Some of the cigars that I reviewed from IPCPR last year, they looked really good. I really like the presentation of those. I'm really not a fan of the Urban. So now that I've talked about how much I dislike the band, let's look at the cigar itself. It's got a nice dark color, a nice oily sheen. There are small veins. They really don't protrude and add much texture to the stick. The cap is neatly applied. The seam that spirals down the cigar looks nice and clean. I kind of have a pet peeve about that. If it looks all jagged and ragged, it kind of irks me. This one's nice and clean. It looked like it was done in one smooth cut. You know, there's no start and stop hesitation marks or anything like that. Just kind of giving it a little pinch. It is nice and firm. And I'm not getting much. I'm not feeling any soft spots. So we're starting off really well. Looking at the foot, it looks nice and packed. If I can get the camera to focus on it. So I'm going to go ahead and begin the lighting process, or at least the clipping process. The aroma on the wrapper and the foot kind of have like a mulch kind of aroma to them. Now I've smoked 3 of these so far. This will be my 4th, and I have a backup just in case for whatever reason this one turns out to be a dud. I can re-review that last one and go from there. The draw is nice and free. It's got sort of like a vegetable pre-light flavor, or flavor on the cold draw. I really prefer the draw this loose. However, some others may consider it too loose and want to punch it. I guess you'll have to get your hands on one and try it. and then be your own judge whether or not you use a straight cut or a punch to try to restrict the draw. But as I said, Auguesto Reyes sent these maybe a week or two ago. I wanted to let them sit and acclimate a little bit, just because of how hot it's been, and that seems to have gone a long way. When I finally did start smoking, they were burning beautifully. The last couple of cigars that I got in the mail, I have a metal mailbox, so when you get them out and you unpack them, the cigars actually feel hot or feel warm. So I wanted to let them sit and acclimate a bit. A little blast of pepper through the sinus. Got a lingering aftertaste that sort of wraps the palate and gets the back of your throat a little bit. That's sort of a salty taste, a little bit of a woody taste, but the primary flavor is pepper across the palate. So, we're off to a good start. It is 9:19 a.m. My first cigar of the day. I'm pairing this with coffee, so I keep that in mind as we go through. If I keep mentioning, wow, this cigar tastes like coffee, it probably has a lot to do with the coffee that I'm drinking. However, I should be okay because all of the others were smoked paired with water, so I'm pretty comfortable with the flavor profile that we can vary it up a little bit with coffee. So sit tight, I'll be right back and we'll take a look at the first third of my Auguesto Reyes Urban. Well, it is 9:53 a.m. and still plugging along. I'm reaching the end of the first third of my Auguesto Reyes Urban, and I'm a little surprised. Even though it looks like it's burning evenly and it's got a fairly thin burn line, it hasn't. I'm having a little bit of trouble keeping it lit, and I've got two little pinholes in the filler that seem to be producing an airy kind of a smoke. It's not generating quite the rich flavor profile that I was getting with the other samples, but I'm going to keep smoking to see if I can get through it. And the surprising part is the other cigars that I've had were flawless. I smoked one on Sunday. My niece had or not Sunday, on Thursday, my niece had a little dinner for close friends and family for her birthday. And after, the cake and everything was done and, the kids were playing in the house, I went outside and I had a cigar with my father. I lit up an Auguesto Reyes Urban, and, I had a really long ash on it. It was nice and solid, it held tight. There was no mess. It was great. I mean, it was burning flawlessly. And the cigar smoked that way for the entire thing. I think I ashed it 3 times before I finally pitched the cigar. So I was really impressed with the burning characteristics. This one, on the other hand, it seems, a little shoddy. So I'm going to chalk this one up to just a bum stick. I don't want to just pitch it and light the other one just for the sake of getting a good burn, but things like this happen every now and again. Even if you get 5 and 3 of them are burn perfectly, that 4th one might burn a little off, or the 5th one. So there's no guarantee that if I get rid of this one and light another one that it's going to burn properly. So we'll see if we can soldier through this one. It's really not that bad. In terms of flavor, I'm getting sort of like a nutty flavor, and there's a bit of a woody component to it. On the palate, it's slightly dry, and it's medium bodied. Through the sinus, there isn't a whole lot of punch. That first puff was probably the I don't really want to say strongest, but I'm going to. It was probably the strongest sensation through the sinus. I don't know whether I'm just kind of getting used to it or if the cigar has settled a little bit, but it's much smoother through the sinus, and it doesn't give you that stinging that makes you feel like your eyes are going to start watering. So it's really not bad through the sinus. And as, I don't know whether I said it or not, but the pepper that I was getting earlier on, I'm really not getting at this point. So the other samples had more of a richness to the flavor profile, and I really think it's these two pinholes that are causing that airy sort of lack of flavored smoke. And I'll see if I can show it to you. I see those two little holes. Actually, it looks like kind of like a bowling ball or a face. There's a small one down the bottom too. That's causing a little bit of problems. But again, I'm gonna see if we can get through that. So more on the band. You know, it's back when Kensington was open in West Reading. On my way home, instead of hopping on the highway, which was usually full of traffic at that hour, I'd like to drive through town. I mean, you know, it's a lot more traffic lights and a little bit more traffic, but I found that to be less of a hassle. And I used to go through town a lot. And one of the ways, on my way back, I used to get stuck and have to wait for this train that was going by. And, you know, obviously freight trains, they have a lot of graffiti all over them. And I used to like just kind of looking at all the graffiti. I mean, some of it just looked horrible, and some of it looked like, you know, the people really took care in their vandalism and did a really nice job, and some of it looked great. This just, I don't know, this just looks like a piece of the bad artwork that went by, where you've got, you know, the freight, the car, the background of the car, you know, and some miscellaneous graffiti that's already been sprayed over that creates a background, and then you have something that you can read, but you know, you have to squint and tilt your head a little bit. So again, I'm really not fond of the band, although I do like looking at you know, graffiti artwork every now and again, especially if I'm stuck, you know, waiting on a train. I really don't mind just checking it out. But that's how the cigar is going. I'll be back again in just a second. We'll take a look at the second third of the cigar. I'll see if I can slip some images in from that first cigar that I smoked. The image at the head of this video, the intro, was the one that I smoked on Thursday, and I think I have some more pictures, and I'll try to drop them in so you can see just how well that cigar burned versus this one. So sit tight, and I will be right back. Well, it is 10:16, and I'm plugging away on my Auguesto Reyes Urban, and smoke volume seems to have picked up. I did have to knock the ash off and relight, but it looks like I may be most of the way through those two little pinhole voids in the filler that were causing a bit of a problem. The cigar is kind of getting away from me a little bit. I wasn't expecting to be this far and not have enough video recorded. So I'm not quite sure whether I want to make this part really brief and then come back as I wrap up the cigar, or try to do it all now. So let's just kind of wing it. First and foremost, the smoke volume is back. It's a little thicker. It's coating the palate a bit more. It's still in the medium range. The finish is becoming a little more creamy, and the slight bit of dryness that I was getting earlier on is no longer present. The little bit of a tinge in the back of my throat is no longer there either. Through the sinus, the smoke is still really smooth. It doesn't give you that stinging sensation where your eyes are going to water. And as far as the flavor profile goes, I'm still getting a component of sort of nuts and wood. Now, on occasion, I'm getting a little bit of a saltiness, and in that puff, I just started getting some sourness, which is why I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do with the video. All of my samples, just as I got past the band, the stick started turning sour on me, and you know, it was a flavor profile that I really didn't like, and it seems like I'm just getting into that now, where, you know, I don't know whether I want to cut this clip off short and come back later, because that means I'll have to smoke the cigar further. In all of the samples that I've had, around this point in the stick is when it got unenjoyable. Now, I'm into probably the end of where the band would have been had I not taken it off. So I smoked quite a bit of it, but generally I like to smoke these quite a bit shorter, maybe another half of what I've got left before I finally give up on it. But I'm gonna try to smoke a little bit more of it, but we'll see how it goes. Yeah, it's got a sourness that's building, and it builds and builds and builds as you get shorter. So you know what? I'm probably just going to wrap it up here. So maybe we'll try to stretch this just a little bit longer, and then, you know, I'll kill the video. Alright, so if you're watching this video in the month of July of 2011, head over to Stogie Review and check out the contest that we're running on a Prometheus retro lighter. I have a retro lighter here, but it's not the one that I'm giving away. This is actually just the standard Prometheus retro lighter. The one that I'm giving away has the Angelenos logo on it. But this is a really cool little lighter, and it's retro because it's got a flint action, and I find it super cool. And this has been really reliable for me. It's kind of weird when it runs out of fuel, it just stops working. It doesn't, like all my other lighters, the flame starts getting weaker and weaker and weaker as the pressure in the tank reduces, and then the flame will start sputtering, and you know that either you need to find another lighter or you need to get to a can of butane. This lighter, however, just stops working altogether. No, the flame doesn't get weak, it just stops. And that's the only downside that I've had with this lighter. Aside from that, it's worked great. It's got a really fine pinpoint flame. The flint action in it, there's a screw on the bottom. You pop a spring out, and you can replace the flint just like you would a Zippo. And it's a really cool lighter. It's been very reliable for me, and I think it's got like an $85 MSRP, something like that. So if you'd be interested in getting one for yourself, head over to StogieReview.com if you're not there already. All the way at the top, you'll see a blue bar, and the blue bar is on every page. It's a contest announcement. So click on that link. It will take you to the contest page, and you answer the question that I posed, and you're entered to win a Prometheus retro lighter. So that's gonna do it for this video, now that I've pimped the lighter contest a bit. So until next time, oh, you know, I should probably give you a little feedback on the cigar. Again, I don't know the MSRP of the stick. If I had to guess, $5 to $7 I think would be a fair price. I don't know whether this is something that you're going to see a lot of at Cigars International, or if it's going to be in sort of the brick and mortar stores. Like, for instance, when Cigars International, you see a lot of their Auguesto Reyes sampler packs. I think it's like 4 sticks or something like that. But you don't see the 2 that I reviewed a few months back. Those seem to be more reserved for Auguesto Reyes accounts at the B&M level. So I don't know where this particular stick is going to fall, whether it's going to be with the big box places like Cigars International, or if it's going to be at the smaller brick and mortar stores. But if it sounds interesting, you should definitely look it up and see if you can track one down. Apologize for not having the price handy, but again, I would guess $5 to $7 maybe. And at that price, I think it would be, you know, something that is worth a try at the brick and mortar level. If this is a Cigars International stick, I would expect that price to come down a little bit. But decent cigar up until you get beyond the band, at which point it gets kind of sour and unenjoyable. But the samples that I had before this burned really well, and I was really impressed with them. The flavor was good and rich. This one was a little bit lacking because of those holes in the filler that I showed you. But all in all, a good, solid cigar. So now that I actually gave you cigar information, now I can kill the video. So until next time, happy smoking, and I will catch you later. So, this, I really don't know what to say. I'm kind of out of practice. At the beginning of the video, I mentioned my personal blog, and, well, that sucks too. I don't really want to talk about that either. A lot of dead air right here. Think of something to say.